I believe that there is only one person you need to fall in love with, and that is falling in love with yourself. Self-love has been a really important aspect in my life. It is like one of the number one factors of my self-growth and leveling up in the changes I've seen in myself in the last year and a half. I find that self-love can be like a really tricky topic to talk to people about because a lot of people think it is very superficial, like let's go buy the latest and greatest thing for myself because I deserve it, or let's go treat ourselves to X, Y, and Z. And like all those things are great, don't get me wrong, but like you're always gonna keep wanting more and trying to fill this void that you think the stuff will fill. In all honesty, you need to love yourself in order to fill that void. I've spent the last 2 years trying to learn to love myself on a deeper level, and there have been quite a few different changes that I've noticed within myself. I am able to set a lot more boundaries with myself and with others, follow through on what I tell myself I'm going to do. I stand up for myself, and it has really helped with my own confidence, and then that in turn helps with my whole leveling up and reaching all my goals. My name is Mackenzie, and I will be talking about the topics about leveling up and becoming her. So if you want to follow along on my journey, subscribe down below. And without further ado, this is how I've learned to love myself. The first thing I changed is I started talking nice to myself. I'm not gonna talk shit to my friends and family, so why am I doing it to myself? One of the things that I had to remind myself is that I see other people as human and that they can make mistakes, but I'm also human and I can make mistakes. So why should I be talking shit about myself when I don't talk shit about other people when they make mistakes? When I changed the way I spoke about myself to myself, I really noticed that my confidence had skyrocketed and that I really truly believed all the good things about me. And this kind of started with like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. It's kind of funny how it all started. I would get a lot of compliments about like being smart and beautiful and funny and just any compliment, and within my inner circle I'd be like, I know. And it was just kind of always reaffirming what they say, so I believe it for myself. That way when I tell myself that, I actually believe it because I keep hearing it and I keep telling myself that I know and I understand what they're saying to me. So that was probably like the easiest way that I started getting into believing the good things about myself, and therefore it would change my own thinking patterns. And then in my head, it would change the false perception that I have of myself based on people outwardly telling me things and me accepting it by saying I know. I will say though, like as a disclaimer, like you got to be aware of the people that you do this to, because there are some people that they'd be completely thrown off by it. Then the next thing I would do is start retraining your thoughts that you have. I would give myself like little pep talks in my head. Like if I did something new and it didn't go as well as I'd planned, or it failed completely, like I allowed myself to fail. Before I would fail or do something wrong or not perfect, I'd get angry and upset at myself, but then I'd have to like almost sit myself down and be like, no, it's okay. This is your 10 minutes into doing this. Professionals have been doing it for 10,000 hours. Like, you're not going to get it right the first time. Let's try it again. And then slowly I would just restructure how I thought about things, especially when I failed. I think it is very important to be aware of when you're thinking critical about yourself and almost call yourself out for it and be like, hey, don't talk to her like that. One thing that I heard, remember that thoughts are not facts. They are a skewed, biased perception you have. So when I would think negatively about myself, I knew that those weren't facts, so it can't be true. And because of that, I just stopped believing all the bad things I believed about myself. However, while I was learning to fall in love with myself and be okay with who I am, like I would use the biased perception I had of myself, but I would use it in a positive way. Telling myself that, oh, I am smart, I am beautiful, I am emotionally intelligent, and I can do this. And There for a while, I would write it down in a journal over and over and over again until I believed it. And then I eventually moved on to telling myself while I was looking at myself in the mirror, so I could see that I actually am saying it to myself. And I felt like that really instilled it in my brain. There's a little bit of, well, not a little bit, there's quite a bit of faking it till you make it. But with that faking it, every time I would criticize myself, I would correct it. And you have to become very aware of when that happens, and that took a long time to practice. And another tip I have is creating like an alter ego that has the confidence and is where you want to be at with your self-love journey. For me, this was the alter ego I had was someone who was so confident in herself that she would not ever think negatively about herself. She knew that negative thinking is very detrimental to her self-image and self-perception, and then that will snowball into a negative way. Whereas if she knew she was confident and knew that she loved herself and so sure of herself that she could achieve anything, and that's kind of who I became eventually. But it all started with like pretending I was someone else that had those qualities. Having an alter ego made it easier to fall in love with myself and start becoming her. One important thing that I have learned is that self-respect and appreciation for yourself is hard to come by if you don't love yourself. So when I love myself, I respect myself. And just like it's important to show up for others, it is more important to show up for yourself. I might not be in the habit of showing up for myself, but another important aspect of my alter ego was she is the bad bitch who is always on top of her goals, always achieving great things and loving herself and pushing herself to do the right thing for her. And most importantly, she always shows up. It may be 100%, 110%, 50%, but she's always there for her and is always going to show up when she needs to. Eventually, my alter ego, I guess, showed up enough times that it became a habit. With it becoming a habit, my confidence definitely increased, and therefore like I was able to show up without necessarily being in that alter ego state of mind. I will say that some days it is a lot easier than others to show up, because this is a journey that we're on a self-love journey, and it's not a goal, it's not an end destination, it's going to be a lifelong journey, and some days are going to be easier than others. But with that said, the more you practice self-love, the easier it is to integrate it into your everyday thinking and doing. Here are some simple things that I would do if I was on this journey from the beginning again. And just remember, these are going to take time, practice, and you're going to have grace with yourself. Number one, I would stop trash talking myself and observe the negative thoughts I'm having and try and change them into a positive thought. Now this is going to be hard because you got to be observant of your thoughts, which if you're on autopilot mode, it's very hard to do. Number two is I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to set a small, smart goal that I can easily achieve, but I might not have wanted to achieve in the past. So for example, like my goal is, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow after work. Put it in my calendar. That means I have to go to the gym tomorrow. And slowly, if you do that, because it's in your calendar, you're scheduled to do it, you've made the time to do it, slowly but surely, you will build the confidence within yourself. You're doing the things that you say you're going to do. Like you wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to do this and that for somebody else and not do them. Then why are you doing it to yourself, you know? My biggest tip though for doing what you're gonna say you're going to do, plan it out, schedule it. Stick to the schedule. Yeah. And then the third thing I would do is create an alter ego. I use my alter ego for a variety of different things, but mainly this alter ego has the kind of bad bitch personality that doesn't struggle with the things that I struggle with that I want to get better at. And eventually this alter ego is the her you are becoming. And that is really important, that my alter ego is almost like a future version of myself. So those are the things that I did to help love myself and fall in love with myself. If you like this kind of content and you want to follow me along this journey, subscribe down below and there will be more content like this coming soon.